Welcome back. I'm Tom Hewitt, and this is News 13's Eye on the Election. I'm here with April Johnson, who's running for school board. And April, this is your first time running for public office, so not everybody might know you. What I guess is your background, and how did you come to be seeking a seat on the school board?
I have a son, and he was going to Thrive Alaska for the early Head Start and Head Start programs, and through there I ran and served on their policy council for the last 3 years and chaired it the last 2, and then after about a year being on the policy council, I ran for their board of directors and really enjoyed doing that. And so when he started kindergarten this fall, I kind of looked at it as the next step up is to kind of continue helping shape the educational world my child's in.
So there are new standards that went into place this year for assessing teachers and schools, and one of the things that they do, among other things, is to tie teacher assessment to how well their students perform. And how best do you feel that teachers and schools should be assessed, and do you think that basically the results of those assessments should lead to changes in, say, the level of focus that a district puts on a school or the level of compensation for a teacher?
Well, with tying in a student and class performance to teacher evaluations, I'm kind of split down the middle on that one. On one hand, I really like the idea that how well a teacher's class performs is reflected in their evaluation, but on the other hand, there are students that don't fit in the nice, tidy, neat little boxes that standardized testing has created, and I don't think it's fair that teachers should be held accountable for students who just don't learn the way that the curriculum teaches. And then there's other things that are also outside of a teacher's control. A student who goes to bed at a decent time, has a really decent dinner, a great breakfast, and a really great home life is going to do far better than a child who doesn't get adequate sleep, doesn't have adequate food in the home, doesn't have a good winter warm coat. And I don't really think that teachers should be, like I said, I don't think they should be held to the standards for things outside their control.
The idea of using vouchers for education that would essentially give parents a sort of a check with tax money that was devoted to education to send their kid either to public or private school, depending on where they wanted to go, it's pretty controversial. Supporters say that it gives parents and students more choice and more options, but opponents say that it could very well violate the principle of separation of church and state. How do you feel about vouchers?
I'm actually against them. For the biggest reason is I feel that there shouldn't be a hole in our public education system that a private school needs to fill outside of, like you mentioned, church and state, outside of wanting to have religion as a part of your child's education. And in that case, that's the family's choice. It shouldn't have, no taxpayer should have to put money toward, a private religious school.
The state government, under the leadership of Governor Sean Parnell, has held education funding to approximately the same level over the last 3 years, despite rising costs. In particular, the base per student allocation for state funding hasn't increased in those 3 years. And you're not going to be able to affect this too much just because the school board has to take whatever the legislature and the borough give it. But how active do you think that the school board should be, if at all, in basically advocating for specific funding for classrooms or for more generally increases to that base student allocation?
I think as much as they're able. My first year serving on policy council at Thrive Alaska, I actually went down with another member of the policy council and a couple of the administration staff and the director at that time, and we talked to our legislature down in Juneau for about a week and about the great things that the program was doing and how Head Start and Early Head Start helps children. And I think it's really important that you do as much as you can especially when it comes to funding and talking to the legislature, because I think it's very important that you do what you can to kind of advocate for your schools and to get more money out there. I think as a whole, not just in our state, our education is greatly underfunded.
Alaska high school graduation rates and kind of the matriculation of high school freshmen to graduating seniors, those rates are some of the lowest in the nation. And it's a little bit better here in the North Star Borough, but overall we've got a lot of work to do. How best do you think schools should tackle that issue, and what might be some things that could keep kids involved the whole way through and keep them from dropping out?
I think looking at the reasons kids are dropping out and going from there. I mean, some of it is, if you wind up with an accidental pregnancy, directing that girl toward Hutch where they have help to help her get through, and daycare when she does have the child. If it's just kids are unfocused and unwilling and don't have the desire, try to find a way to try to find what they want. And
if you're elected to the school board, is there anything in particular you would like to change, or somewhere you think that the district could be doing better?
I haven't had a whole lot of experience with how our school district does. Just my only child just now started in the public school, but I would definitely like to look at either policy committees or finance committees, and if elected, look at joining one of those, and just kind of you get the nice broad overview with the board, but then within those other committees, you kind of policy and financial I kind of like the best of. You get those nice tight little viewpoints into what really happens.
Well, April, thank you very much for coming in.
Thanks.
And for the rest of you, don't go away just yet. We've got Jamie Schwartzwald coming up next with sports.